Sadhguru has taught millions of people to become more joyful, healthier, and more conscious. But these three masters profoundly influenced Sadhguru during his upbringing. Let's find out who these masters are and how they influenced Sadhguru. Okay, so we are starting with the third name. This master had a great influence on Sadhguru during his teen years, and it is none other than Jiddu Krishnamurti, a great mystic and a profound spiritual teacher. I personally have immense respect for JK and constantly strive to learn from him. Now let's hear about Sadhguru's connection with JK.
So Khalil Gibran said about J. Krishnamurti, when I walked into the room, I walked into a wall of love. It just hit me in the face. See, you would never associate JK with love. He's not a loving man. That's not how he looks. He's like this. He definitely doesn't look loving, but he's very loving. His energies are absolutely compassionate, but his words are like knife. So, J. Krishnamurti was like a flower. His fragrance was felt when he was alive. His words are good if you want to kind of use it as an intellectual exercise to drop a few things, they could be useful, brilliant. He started a few schools which are wonderful schools, they're still on. I must tell you my association with him. When I went to this weekends, 5 Saturdays, Saturday afternoons, an hour and a half, that's my exposure to him. On one day he spoke about education and it really gripped me. And you know, it really twisted me inside out because all the ideas, I had never thought of an alternative way of educating people. I was only thinking of how to dismantle all the education system in my mind. When he spoke about education, suddenly it struck me, there was another way to do this. So just this thought came to my mind. I was just maybe 17, 18 and I was living wild and I have dreams of running away somewhere. So I just thought if at any time if a child comes under my control, I would like to put the child to this kind of education. So when my daughter had to go to school, when she got admission in some of the best schools in Ooty, but then it just flashed me in my mind that, okay, there's a JK school, why don't I send her there? And she went to that school and she spent 8 years studying there. So just those 5 Saturday afternoons, an hour and a half, that much impact he had on me, that I handed over my daughter to his care in one way or the other.
Wow, it is very rare to see Sadhguru talk about someone like a fanboy. JK is great. We will soon make and share a video about his incredible life. Now let's talk about the second master who had a huge impact on Sadhguru's life. The second master is Shri Raghavendra Rai, also known as Maladi Halli Swami.
His name was Raghavendra Rai. He was generally known as Maladi Halli Swami. When I first met him, he was about 81, 82 years of age. And I was just 9 or 10 years of age. I was made that way at that time. I could just climb anything. One of my favorite sport there are wells in the backyard which is just 6 feet, 7 feet diameter. So one of the favorite sport is to jump into this. If you make one mistake, you will hit the rock and that'll be the end of you. So jumping into it and again climbing back. None of the kids could climb like me. But I found this 81-year-old man would climb faster than me. So that is what I wanted to know how. And he said, you come and do yoga with me. So that is the thing that set me off initially to go to him and learn simple practices of yoga. He was physically quite an incredible man. Later when I went there after a few years, I had already put in about 5-6 years of gymnasium and I was all muscle. He was by then probably 84, 85 years of age. There were other boys who were much stronger than me. If we entered the wrestling ring with him, we always entered 3 against him. 3 of us against a 85-year-old man, all of us are young and fit. We put in a lot of work on the gymnasium. But within seconds, he would have all 3 of us pinned down. Never once we lasted a minute with him. He lived physically quite an incredible life.
Shri Raghavendra Rai lived until the age of 106, and until his last year, he continued working to spread yoga and Ayurveda. What an incredible life! Now the first master of Sadhguru. Well, this one is not a spiritual master as such, but had a very strong influence on Sadhguru when he was only 5 years old. It was his great grandmother.
I had a great-grandmother who who people in those days said, she's a devil of a woman. Not because she did any evil to anybody, it's just that if she laughed, the whole street would shake. Like that she laughed. She lived up to 113, 113 years of age. When I met her, she was over 100. So at the age of 68, she moved out of the family structure. By then, she had buried her husband, she had buried many of her children, a few grandchildren, a few great-grandchildren also she had buried. She got married at the age of 14, and over 100 years of age, she had seen everybody through. So at the age of 68 or 70, she moved out of the family, she built a small place for herself, and she grew her own food and she lived by herself. When we went there to the ancestral home in the summer vacation, she always came. And I kind of hit it off with her in a certain way because she was special. I did not know what was special about her, I was just 4 or 5 years of age. But with her you could do anything you wanted, so I liked it. I would see her, somebody would bring breakfast for her, then she would go about giving this breakfast to the ants, to the sparrows. Most of her breakfast would be gone like this, and people around her, self-appointed advisors would say, you give away all your food to these creatures and you will die like this. All these advisors died, but she lived on. Many times I've seen her, she would just put this food to all these ants and the ants will be all eating. She would be just sitting there with tears streaking down her cheeks. And if somebody comes and reminds her, why don't you eat? She would say, I'm full. I thought she's really emotional about this ant. It took me another 25 years or 20 years to come to this experience where how if you're truly connected, you could be just nourished by anything and everything around you, it's not necessarily by consumption.